are back for episode number 3, New York Giants Straight Talk. This is Tim, formerly online Big Blue. Oh my God, seems like these podcasts are coming quicker and quicker by the moment, faster and faster. I'm trying to roll up my sleeves here. I was looking down at the camera, not being professional, but you know what? We're never professional here. I want to talk about Saquon Barkley. I want to talk about his contract. I want to talk about Andrew Thomas and his upcoming contract and how potentially signing Daniel Jones to a long-term agreement can really screw up what we need to do with Andrew Thomas coming up in 2 years. Also want to talk about the New York Giants linebacking core. It's not the crunch bunch. There's no Bradley Van Pelt. There's no Brian Kelly. There's no Lawrence Taylor. There's no Harry Carson. There's no Carl Banks. There's no Pepper Johnson. There's no Andy Hedden. Hell, there's no even a Robbie Johnson. But we want to talk about the draft and what the Giants may be able to do to address that situation as well. Wanted to talk about Saquon Barkley real quick. I think that's kind of the interest that a lot of people have. It's a twofold deal. You have Saquon Barkley and you have Daniel Jones, and you both have the contract situation. Plain and simple, they both need to get paid, allegedly. And I want to talk about this for a second because everyone's always focusing on Daniel Jones, and rightfully so, because he's the quarterback. And Shane has come out and says, we have not even talked to Daniel Jones' camp yet. The Giants did try to meet with Barkley after the bye, or during the bye week, and offered a $12.1 million contract, and he turned that down. And then he comes out and said, we mentioned this before, comes out and says, I don't want Christian McCaffrey money. I don't want $16.1 million. Comes out and says, you know what, I'm going to take $16.1 million. The most prudent thing to do with Barkley, because you cannot deny this, you cannot debate this, you cannot say anything about this. He is the cog for the Giants. He is the straw that stirs the drink. He is the Darryl Strawberry Darryl Strawberry back from the Mets from the 80s. You focus on Saquon. You move to Saquon. You work with Saquon. Everything runs through Saquon. And if you remove him from the equation, and then you hope you're going to find someone in the draft, you hope maybe you get someone in free agency. That's a big hope. There's a lot of hope. There's a lot of hope associated with that. And yes, of course, hope does bring eternal, but it just doesn't make sense. Signed into a long-term contract right now, 25 years old, only coming off one season that he very stellar season outside of his rookie year. He had the year before that when he came back from the ACL, and they always say it takes 12 to 24 months for anyone to come back effectively from that ACL. So he hit that stride. But you don't really want to drop him that Christian McCaffrey contract. You don't want to give him that contract like Dallas did to Ezekiel Elliott. What you want to do is, it just makes the most sense to just tag him. And I'm saying use that franchise tag. You don't need to negotiate him with you if you don't want. Tag him, because the tag number is 10.1. He made a little over 8. So you're giving him almost a $2 million raise. Yeah, it's completely guaranteed. But you also then have the ability to, if something goes wrong, something goes haywire, something goes kaput, another injury occurs, you have the ability then to understand, yes, it was a fully guaranteed 10.1, but I'm out of it next year. If he does not replicate the same season that he had in 2022, you're out of it next year. And you still can have him as a focal point of the offense. He's not going to be happy. Nope, I can't think of one player that got tagged that first season and was happy. Now, they always get happy if they get tagged the second season, because that's when they really make some money, because that's when the accelerator kicks in for the tag money. But they're never happy. They're never happy when they get tagged. So, but that's okay. That's all right. I'll take an unhappy Saquon at 10.5 if he has a similar season that he had in 2022, and he is a focal point. He's a focal point of the offense. I don't have to worry now about the offense itself, because of the fact that the way the Giants' offense is predicated, and the way they set it up, and the way it runs, it's you could put a lot of different quarterbacks behind there. You really can. And I love it because we did a short a couple days ago. And the short was the fact that, reporting per The Athletic, that the Giants did not want to re-sign, or not they don't want to re-sign, but they did not want to use a franchise tag on Daniel Jones. It makes all the sense in the world. You have a $32 million cap hold immediately. Now, of course, you maintain exclusive rights with Daniel Jones to negotiate. But you've now you have $44 million. Yes, they're going to probably gain more cap space, but you have $44 million. We're going to go off the current cap number. You take away $32 million of that immediately with the cap hold. And last time I checked, that leaves you with $12 million. $12 million out of the 44 for free agency. It's not a good look. I mean, unless you figure out you're going to sign him to that long-term contract, but it's going to limit and hamper what you can do. Now, so I'm saying you can't use the franchise tag on Dan Jones. It's just a smart thing. One thing that truly worries me and that no one's really talking about, besides the fact that I'm having a really good hair day, one thing that truly worries me about the New York Giants and signing Daniel Jones to a long-term contract. Everyone I hear is saying, you have to sign him to a 5-year deal. You got to sign him to a 5-year deal because this way you can give him less money in 2023, save your salary cap space, re-sign Saquon Barkley, try to get some guys in free agency, and move forward that way. There's a problem to this theory that I don't think anyone is addressing or looking at. There is a massive issue. There is something very, very wrong here. You have Andrew Thomas's contract coming up. He's going into year 4 next year in 2023. And of course, they're going to pick up the 5th-year option. So 2024, they'll have the 5th-year option. After that, you're going to have to look at re-signing him. You're probably going to look to try to re-sign him in year 5. But after year 5, it'll be the 3rd year. Let's say Daniel Jones gets a 5-year contract. It will be the 3rd year of Daniel Jones' 5-year contract. The poison pill, as you want to put it, if you want to look at the NBA contracts, will be in that 3rd year. It's like the Leonard Williams deal. The longer you go down, wait, we got to do it because we have to have the visuals as well.
King of the almost sack.
So the problem is this: when that 3rd year for Daniel Jones hits, that will be the 1st year of Andrew Thomas's contract. So you may have Daniel Jones making $38 million, $40 million that 3rd year. What are you going to do cap-wise to then pay Andrew Thomas at the same time? The more money you slide down the cap, the more times you kick the cap down the road. We've talked about this. You kick the can down the road multitudes of times. Here's the problem. Sooner or later, you got to pay the piper. Sooner or later, the chickens come home to roost. Well, so many people miss when I say that. But that's what you have to imagine. That's what you have to think. And I said this before, I like Shane a lot because I think that he is playing long ball. I don't think he's playing short ball. I think he's looking at this from a long perspective. I'm gonna drink some water because, like I said, I can do whatever I want now because I don't need to edit this stuff. If they want to edit out me drinking water, let them do it. Let them do it. But Shane, I think, is playing the long ball. I think he's playing the smart game because he understands that he not only has to make not only does he have to put a competitive product on the field now, he has to have the ability to have cap control for the foreseeable future for the next 10 years. Because of the fact that if you're looking to be short-sighted, you are going to get into situations where teams have one good season, get into cap purgatory, and then turn around and just kind of fade away for another year or two after having that one good season. I'm looking at my thing. I'm looking at whose car. Should we push the whose car button?
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're going to hurt some people. Whose car are we going to take?
I don't know why. I don't know why I pushed that button, but the sound effect was there. I had to see. They gave me all these sound effect numbers, and I haven't looked at them yet. But that's evidently a new sound effect as well. But he's playing long ball. He's playing the game that he understands that he needs to maintain, and he's going to have contracts coming up. After you give the big deal to Daniel Jones, because if you give Daniel Jones a 3-year deal, you're going to have to give him a lot of the bonus money and a lot of the bonus money up front, which is then going to screw your 2023 cap. But then again, like I said, you have to be a little pensive and understand that I got to look down the road as well. I got to look a little further down the road because I need to understand that I'm going to have another big contract of a key cog on that offensive line and a key cog position in the NFL and left tackle come up. The Giants have not had what I would refer to as a stellar linebacking core for years. I mean, you're not going to have a linebacking core from the late 70s, the 80s, and even into the 90s. We haven't drafted well when it comes to linebackers. We have picked up some free agent linebackers. We have moved forward right there. And as everyone's talking about wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. Oh, also we have the scrolling on the bottom here. Those are the New York Giants Straight Talk top 15 quarterback prospects in the 2023 draft. But the Giants, draft-wise, have kind of gotten away from the linebackers. They kind of gotten away what made them the Giants of yore back in the early days. Oh, we have that sound effect. Why don't we do that? Hold on, everyone, just sit there. This is just like a live stream, because I still have to find the music because I don't even know where it is. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. Now we can do it. Lombardi, I said magic still lingers in the name. From the duels on the ice and the snow. I gotta love. I have to do my John Fasunda. But the Giants haven't drafted a linebacker in eons and ages. And yes, wide receiver is an important position right now for this team. But you also have to understand that linebackers, I got to pull up my chart, that linebackers is a key cog to this unit as well. Because one of the biggest problems that we had last season was the fact that we couldn't stop the run. We did not have an outside linebacker that could help maintain and hold the edge. We did not have an outside linebacker who had speed enough to cover the tight ends. We had a lot of problems at linebacker, and a lot of the problems of them getting, the offenses getting through into the second level is we were not making the stops until maybe 3-4 yards beyond the point of attack. Blake Martinez, for all of his faults and for all of his difficulties, understand, and we've said it before, he knew how to flow like water. He ran through the vines. He knew what he was doing. He was able to cut through the ball carriers, through the traffic and find the ball carrier. And actually either make the tackle at the point of attack or a little bit further down, which is what you need to do. And I've said this before. Everyone talks about Tay Crowder. Tay Crowder. Oh my God, did you see that hit that he put on Derrick Henry? Where he hit him from the side? And Derrick Henry was running up too high when he even said that I made the adjustment where I actually started lowering my shoulders in the second half and running low. And he only really hit him from the side. He didn't hit him head on. That was a career-defining tackle. Yeah. And then he fell off the earth. And we know where he is now. Well, right now he's on the practice squad, but that was a joke. But the problem was, I've said this before, you need to look at your linebackers. You need to look at your middle linebackers and your outside linebackers. Your middle linebackers and outside linebackers, if they're good, they will have more solo tackles than assists. If you have a linebacker that has more assists than solo tackles, you do not have a quality linebacker. You have a guy that's either getting pylon stats or is not sitting there at the point of attack. I pointed this out before, and I've showed you multitudes of linebackers who are high quality linebackers who have more solo tackles than assists, because that tells me they're reaching the point of attack before anyone else, and that's what you need, and that's something that Blake Martinez has. We don't have this on that team. We really don't. That caused the difficulty. Now, if you look at our current linebacking situations, you have Kayvon Thibodeau, who I don't think he's not a starting linebacker. Kayvon Thibodeau, to me, is a guy that's got to play with his hand in the dirt. Maybe you move him around and rush him. You keep him out on the edge. He's more of a destructive force that way. You got Cam Brown, who's been on this team for an eon and a half. And he's not going. I mean, he is not a guy that you look at and say, you know what, that's a quality guy. You got Carter Coughlin, who's probably not going to be on this team either. Let me see what else. You got Fox, who's probably going to be scratching to get this team. You got Darren Beavers, who's going to be coming off an injury. You got McFadden, who played well in spurts and times, but nothing to write home about. These are the guys that we have under contract. I'm just trying to see if there's anyone else. So those are your linebackers. Those are your guys. Those are your those are the guys that you are going to go to battle with. Those are the guys that you are going to line up again with. No, you're not. You're not. I mean, truly plain and simple. Now, the question is, if you go wide receiver with the first pick, and you still also need a guard, you're going to need a CB2. We've gone through the multitudes of things that we need. But to me, you have to go linebacker in the second round. You have to. You have to try to find that gem. You have to find that guy that's going to maybe not make a difference right away, but is going to have the ability to do the things that you need to do. Doing that thing you do. For some reason, I watched that movie yesterday. I don't know why. I really don't know. I don't know why. I don't know why. You want to know why?
Who? Did you order the code red?
I did the job. Did you order the code red? You're goddamn right I did.
I'm ordering the code red on linebackers. Now, there's a couple guys that I've been kind of looking at, and they're not big names. They're guys that in some ways you're probably going to look at and say, okay, you know what? Definitely a second round pick, definitely a third round pick, but not guys that are going to be sitting there and they may not, they may not really pique your interest a little bit. I mean, the first guy you're looking at is Will Anderson over at Alabama. We're not getting Will Anderson. He's a top 5 guy. He could potentially even be a number 1 guy. You don't know. So you gotta take Will off the books. You gotta click him off. The other guy I like, who I would like to see, I would like to maybe see the Giants go after is what's his name? Will McDonald of Ohio State. Iowa State, actually. Ohio State. He was Iowa State. I couldn't remember where the hell he was from. Big kid, 6'4", 245. He runs a nice 40. I think he's got like a 6'9", 40. 36 tackles, 5 sacks. They always rave about his speed, and they rave about his athleticism. The year prior, he had 15 sacks. So he is a guy that has the ability to make tackles. What was his stat? No, he didn't have 15 sacks. He had 10 and a half in 2020, 10 and a half in 2021. He had a down year with only 4 sacks in 2022. He is a guy that is, he's fast. He is athletic. He understands how to get around blockers. He understands how to basically, like I said, he doesn't get lost in the sauce. He's one of those guys that I think is going to be a lot better in the pros than he showed in college. And like I said, he had a down year, but the whole team did. But he is another guy that I think that he can work in multiple sets. He can work in the 3-4. He can work in a 4-3. Hell, he probably can work in the 46 zone. I do think that he could work his way into the latter half of the first round, maybe even below 25. But I do think he is a second round guy. And like I said, he is a guy that knows how to get after the quarterback. He is a guy that has the speed. I'm not sure how he's going to adjust in coverage, but he has the speed to cover the tight end. He has the speed to cover the running back out of the backfield. So he's just a guy that I think would be interesting. And like I said, his athleticism alone should pique your interest. The other kid I was looking at is the kid out of Army. Let me pull up. That's, what's his name? Andre Carter. Andre Carter the second. He is another guy that had a down season. A big guy, 6'7", 250. A little slower. Had 37 tackles, 3 sacks, and 2 pass defenses last year. He had a blow-up season. That is the kid last year that had 2 years ago, 2021, had 15 and a half sacks. I mean, he is a kid that you look at his size, you look at his ability. He's tall. He's a big defender. If you look at what I think he can do is, I do think for his size, he still has the ability to cover the tight end, but I also think he has the ability to help the defensive end set the edge and maintain his assignments so they are not flowing, the running back's not flowing through and getting into the second level. But I think he's a kid that I think he can do that. And like I said, he's a guy I think you can get anywhere between round 2 and 3. Byron Young, I like him out of Tennessee. I think he's projected anywhere between the 3rd and the 5th round. Again, like I said, he's 6'3", 243. He's another fast guy. He ran a good 40, he ran like a 5. I think he's what did he run? A 4.6 40. Another big kid, another kid that I think can go in the 2nd or anywhere between the 2nd and the 5th round. It really depends. He had a good season in 2021 and 22. Limited starting ability. He's only played 22 games or 20. How many games did he play? 21 games over the last 2 seasons. That's all the experience. So probably a kid that should have went back to school, but he's someone else that the Giants should be looking at. Nolan Smith, the kid out of Georgia, 6'3", 235. Smaller size, but again, he is a dangerous edge rusher. He's quick off the ball. He has the ability. He's one of those kids you got to look at to see. He's got to get a little bit bigger. He's got to get a little bit stronger. Is he going to be as good as a run defender as the other guys? No, but he's a guy that I think can help maintain and set the edge. What's his name? Derek Hall, the kid at Auburn, 6'3", 251. A little bit on the slower side. He's going to be in the latter half of the draft. I think you're looking at a guy that could be a middle linebacker, 60 totals for 6.5 sacks and interception last year. Tough player for Auburn, good player, gutty player for Auburn. He's going to have his physical limitations. Again, I think is a guy you could potentially move into the middle linebacking position, but he's a guy that you need to look at. He's a guy that could be a difference maker. He is a guy that can do something. Later in the draft, you're looking at someone like Charlie Thomas out of Georgia Tech. Another guy at 6'2", 207, 40 time, pretty good. Little light of weight. He racked up 112 tackles and 2 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles in 2022. Solid run defender. I'd like to see him get bigger. I'd like to see him gain some size. He's going to be in the back half of the draft. He's going to be anywhere between round 3 and 6. But he's another guy the Giants can potentially take a look at and move forward. As you can see, as I've pointed out before, that is the top 15 Giant, top 15, our top 15, or my top 15 2023 guys in reference to the quarterbacks. But like I said, I think the focal point needs to be on linebacker, especially if you're going to go wide receiver in the first round. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting draft. It's going to be an interesting lead up to the draft. It's going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of good shows coming up, so make sure you stay tuned. We have I'm not sure what day this show is coming out, maybe Monday or Tuesday, but I think we're going to have another show scheduled for Friday of this week as well. So you know what? This is Tim. This is New York Giants Straight Talk. Hoping you enjoyed the show. Hoping you enjoyed the new format. We got some big surprises and a lot of fun coming up, so make sure you don't go away. And you know what? I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. You know what? Don't tune in. You better tune out, because you know what? We're going to be here forever. Just joking. All right, guys. I appreciate it. And you know what? I'm out of here.